It's February 2006 in Kent, England, and a depot manager driving home sees police lights in his mirror. He pulls over, but these men aren't police. By the end of the night, they'll have taken his family hostage and emptied a cash depot of £53 million, the biggest robbery in British history. And somehow, it's not even the most unbelievable heist on this list. 3 robberies, every detail real. Ranked from no way that worked to absolutely no way that worked. Number 3, the Baker Street robbery of 1971. The one that's so famous in Britain it became a legend and then a movie. Here's the setup. In central London, on Baker Street, there's a branch of Lloyd's Bank, and beneath it sits a vault full of safe deposit boxes. The place where wealthy Londoners kept their cash, jewels, and let's just say things they'd rather nobody knew about. Robbing it head-on would be impossible, so the gang didn't go in through the door. They rented a leather goods shop 2 doors down from the bank, and from inside that shop, they started to dig. Over several weekends, they tunneled underground, beneath a fried chicken restaurant that sat between them and the bank, heading straight for the vault. And here's the detail that makes this one legendary. They had a lookout on a nearby rooftop with a walkie-talkie, coordinating the dig, and a local amateur radio enthusiast accidentally picked up their transmissions. He heard them talking about a robbery in progress, called the police, and told them. The police actually launched a search, but they couldn't figure out which bank. They checked branches across the area and found nothing, because the gang was tunneling and the vault hadn't been breached yet. By the time anyone pieced it together, the gang had already broken through the vault floor, cleaned out the deposit boxes, and vanished with what's estimated to be millions of pounds in cash and valuables. Most of it was never recovered. And to this day, because of what was rumored to be inside some of those boxes, the robbery is wrapped in conspiracy theories. A tunnel, a fried chicken shop, and a robbery overheard live on the radio that the police still couldn't stop. You couldn't write it. Number 2, the Banco Central Heist in Fortaleza, Brazil in 2005. And if the Baker Street tunnel was impressive, this one was on an entirely different scale. The target was the Banco Central, Brazil's central bank, which held enormous quantities of physical cash. The gang's plan was breathtaking in its patience. 3 months before the heist, they rented a property a block away from the bank and opened what looked like a legitimate business, a company supposedly selling artificial grass and landscaping supplies. This was genius because it gave them a cover story for the one thing that would otherwise be impossible to hide: large amounts of dirt and people constantly coming and going with materials. Then, from inside that property, they began to dig a tunnel. Not a crude little crawl space, a professional one. It ran about 78 meters, the length of most of a city block, and it was a proper engineering job. Reinforced wooden walls, plastic sheeting, lighting, and even an air conditioning system to keep the diggers from suffocating underground. They tunneled directly under 2 city blocks and came up inside the bank's vault, drilling up through more than a meter of steel-reinforced concrete. Over a single weekend, when the bank was closed, they emptied it, making off with around 160 million Brazilian reais, roughly $70 million at the time, in untraceable, non-sequential banknotes. It remains one of the largest bank heists in history. And the truly wild part? The sheer weight. They stole about 3.5 tons of cash and somehow moved all of it out through the tunnel and away before anyone noticed the bank had been robbed at all. Number 1, the Securitas depot robbery of 2006, the largest cash robbery in British history, and the one that genuinely plays out like a heist film, except every part of it is real. The target was a Securitas cash depot in Kent, England, basically a fortress where huge quantities of banknotes were stored. You can't tunnel into a place like that quickly, and you can't storm it. So the gang did something far more audacious. They went after the man with the keys, the depot manager. In the days before the robbery, the gang did their homework, and on the night of the heist, they put their plan into motion. Members of the gang, some disguised as police officers, pulled the manager over in a fake police car as he drove home, convincing him he was being arrested. At the same time, another group went to his home and took his wife and young child, telling the family they would be safe only if he cooperated. Faced with his family's lives, the manager let the gang into the depot. Once inside, they tied up the staff and began loading cash. They had a lorry waiting. They filled it with an absolutely staggering amount of money, around 53 million pounds. They physically could not take more. They actually left tens of millions behind simply because the truck was full. They ran out of time. It was the biggest cash haul in the country's history. The plan was so elaborate, so coordinated, and so much like a movie that it almost didn't feel real. And yet, it happened exactly that way. So there you have it. 3 heists so elaborate, so patient, and so audacious that they genuinely sound invented. From a gang overheard robbing a bank live on the radio, to a 78-meter tunnel under a central bank, to a 53 million pound haul pulled off like a Hollywood thriller. The lesson is the same one this channel keeps proving. Real life doesn't just match fiction. Sometimes it leaves it in the dust. Remember, if you enjoyed this one, you know what to do. And make sure we'll see you in the next one.